Hey everyone, J-Rod Plays here, and this is going to be my guide to the Psyops Battleground Grandmaster on the Cosmodrome. And it's definitely going to be the toughest one, probably next to Birthplace of the Vile this season for the Conqueror Guild. And the reason being is just the sheer amount of ads, like the enemy density is ridiculous. And in the beginning is probably one of the harder parts to try to get through with all of your revives, because most LFG participants, most people that you're going to get matched up with, they're going to be all over the place, and they're not going to have a set route that they're going to take, and they're going to allow the payload to get stopped in the middle. If you allow the payload to get stopped in the middle, you're going to have continual spawns of snipers and continual spawns of the pack of enemies that have a servitor protecting them, so they're going to be difficult to take down as well. And if you don't stand in the right spots, if you're caught out in the open, you can easily get double sniped. And another thing is, if you don't have sniper resistance, you're going to get taken down pretty easy. So I recommend sniper resistance as part of the build. Another thing too is that you're going to want to make sure that you're trying to match up the elements. You're going to run around solar, or you're going to run stasis. I'm choosing stasis for control, and that's also going to allow me to overcharge my kinetic weapon. So that's going to be the Wish Ender. That's what I'm rocking here. I'm rocking Wish Ender with pre-SNX with Adept Big Ones and Shoot to Loot, just in case I need to pick up heavy ammo, for example. I didn't really have to do that just because I was so forced to play back and just use the Wish Ender during this whole time. I didn't get a chance to take advantage of too much, but I do have this, and I do have the artifact set up to where I can actually use the Radiant by getting the precision blows, and then allow that to stack up so that I can get Scorch and then Ignitions. If I was trying to hit something, for example, hiding behind a wall, I can take an ad next to it, and I can hit the ad and force it to ignite by getting a precision kill with this bow, and that'll allow me to do damage to, like, the boss, for example, who likes to hide behind stuff and try to make your life difficult, try to force you to come down off of your perch whenever you're in the final part. And you'll see there, this is also going to be kind of a carry. A lot of the time I'm picking up my teammates, and a lot of the time I had to leave my teammates dead so that I could finish an area, because they just couldn't handle it, and they were actually dying over and over again. I would give them once or twice, and if they died a second or third time, I wasn't going to res them until the area was clear or the res was clear. And also too, you want to make sure you're not resing your teammate in a situation where there's constant fire on their orb, because they're just going to die again. That happened as well a couple times to us, where our teammates were resing each other in bad situations and just completely wasting the res. So we ended up without any reses in the final boss section, and I ended up having to finish the whole thing myself. You'll see that I ended up like really actually carrying my team. So that's why it's called Freezy Carry. You'll see there, a Frozen Carry, depending on what I go with on the title. But as far as the build goes, let me go ahead and get the build section out of the way so we can get into the commentary section, so you can see how I actually got this done, because this is not going to be easy. This is going to be a tough week for people in the LFG. I had heavy ammo finder with heavy ammo scout, so that I had additional heavy ammo, and I could help my teammates get a scout as well. So anytime you get a finder perk drop, they'll get a brick as well. I've got to connect siphon so I can get orbs from my Wish Ender kills. I've got grenade kickstart so that I can have my grenades frequently to get my turrets out. Turrets are there for enemy control, which you're going to need in the first half. Impact inductions, that way if I do any damage with my melee attack, that helps me with the grenade as well, and I use that when anything pushes me, anything is too close, I'll pop out my melee and clear the area. Sniper resist is super important to get past the first part with as many reses as possible. Harmonic resistance is just there because I had an extra space that's not really going to be necessary or useful in this particular GM. And then void resistance. I had elemental charge because I was getting the stasis shards, and they were giving me my elemental charges on top of picking up orbs. Better already, anytime I get an orb, I can get my health to come back, and the innervation, that was helping get grenade cooldown, so I still have more turrets and things. Time dilation was there to help my decaying armor charges. You can swap this out actually, because this is not going to cause it to decay. So I would swap this out for something that's useful, like I would probably put proximity ward. I just have it in my build, so I just picked my build and went because I was busy and I was just kind of going through it. I didn't really check my build per se. So proximity ward would be better over time dilation because your armor charges aren't really going to decay. And then from there, as you saw, I got double bomber, so anytime I popped my rift, I was getting health back as well. So, sorry, grenade energy back as well. The next thing that I'm going to talk about is just your weapon setup. The reason why I went with double bow is because I was only going to be using my Wishender primarily. This was here if I was trying to get radiant so that I could do more damage with my Wishender. It was also here for the shoot salute so that I could pick up stuff on the ground if I needed to without having to expose myself to danger. And then this was how I was dealing damage from afar. Ideally with my teammates next to me, I was able to get off shots on heavy targets like witches, and usually it's unstoppables. This was used mostly against unstoppables and against orange bar enemies that were a danger, especially in the middle payload section, because if you get the payload stuck in the middle section, you're just going to have constant spawns unless you push your payload forward. Once you get your payload to where the brig drops, you're going to have less snipers to bother with, so you want to try to get your payload pushed all the way to the brig drop and then fall back. And you'll see that, my teammates weren't helping me necessarily with that. They were kind of playing off the payload instead of playing on the payload while I was the one primarily taking out snipers. If I just had one person touch the payload once I cleared the snipers, it would have been a much shorter first phase. And so that's the most important part in this one, is getting through that first phase with as many reses as you can. Second phase, just staying out of the room and not getting yourself killed in the room. And then the third phase, really going to the third phase, not getting yourself killed when you're trying to get the boss pushed until you get into the actual psionic realm. If you get yourself killed there, that's just another wasteful thing, and that happened here too, where we had a wasted res just trying to push the boss into the psionic prison so that we can get into his mindscape. And then once you get into the mindscape, not dying because you're jumping down and staying down there, just stay on the top platform with everybody and try your best not to get the boss provoking a shield throw, because the boss can shield throw all the way up on the platform. We had a couple of deaths from shield throws where it could be completely avoided by just hiding when the boss is in his super. I know it takes a little longer and it elongates the fight a little bit, but it's better just not to waste the res or not to endanger your teammate, because you can get a kill where the boss hits you with a shield and then the shield bounces and hits the other person, which would be unfortunate. Thankfully that didn't happen here. And like I said, I had to clutch it up with no reses, kind of solo style, and I'm good enough to solo it if I needed to. I just always like to help people along, and I like to speed things along, hopefully with help. In this case, it didn't speed things along, but it is what it is. And you'll see once we get into the commentary on the actual run. Now, on the build itself, as you'll see, I'm running Glacial Harvest. That's going to be giving me the Stasis shards. And then I'm running Bleak Watcher, and this is going to be allowing me to get the turrets out so that I can control enemies and keep them locked down and keep the servitor, for example, from protecting the allies around it or making it choose either running away or protecting its allies. You're running Cold Snap Grenade because when you're running Osmiomancy, you're going to have the double grenades with the Cold Snap, so Cold Snap Grenade is the grenade of choice. Healing Rift, and for the fragments, I went with Whisper of Durance. That's going to give you longer slows. That's going to help your turret. The Stasis Stars tracking to you is going to be strong. You don't want to get out there and have to pick them up, and then I'm getting 10 resilience from that for my build. Then we're going Rhyme, that's going to give me overshields, so that's going to help with survivability. Once you have those overshields, you can tank a couple of sniper shots, and then anything that I defeat that's slowed or frozen going to give me class ability energy, making sure I always have a rift when I need it. Another thing is just positioning, and you'll see that, and I'll talk about that in the actual run, but that's pretty much the whole build. Let's get into the run. Alright, so dropping in to where the action starts, you're going to start out with the Barrier Servitor, followed by a bunch of dregs around it, and you're going to have a couple of drop-ins there too. So you're going to try to get this Barrier Servitor down before any of the other enemies move up, because what will happen is the Barrier Servitor will fall back behind the cover there, and then you're going to end up in the situation where we are, where now we have two servitors, both in their defensive stance. So now they're kind of blocking each other and docking a little bit, so I'm going to get a turret out there to disrupt that. And again, the Wishender is so strong in this case because that one shot, one well-placed shot, will remove the barrier. So once you got one down, it's super easy from there to get the second one down because they can't hide from behind each other. Another thing to also try to do is if the barrier is hiding behind one of its enemies, you can actually shoot through targets with your Wishender. So I ended up shooting through the captain to hit the barrier, and then of course I'm just waiting there for the barrier to drop its protective covering, so that way I can actually take out the captain, because those captains are really strong and they can kill you all by themselves. Now here's where the important part I mentioned is trying to get prepared for the snipers to drop in. They're going to drop in here on the left where I'm looking, in that group there, and they're going to drop in across the way, so that's where I have 2 turrets placed. One to protect across and one to protect here. Once you kill this set, you're going to want to stand where these guys spawn, because this will give you a little bit of a head start on the enemies when they drop in, and you'll be protected from the middle area, so you can kind of take cover, as you can see. And I'm prioritizing the barrier servitor, or the regular servitor, should I say, because it'll still protect the enemies around it with its barrier. And now staying ahead of your spawns is super important, so as you can see here, I'm already ready and prepared to take out these snipers. One, so that they don't kill my teammates, but also so that they don't contribute to pushing the payload back. Now, here in a little bit, you'll see me tell my teammate to pop his well on the payload. If you have a well on your team, it's important that they get up, or if you're the well, that you get up in the payload and you pop your well there. So that way, as soon as you clear the enemies in the area, the payload will begin moving. And you can kind of leapfrog using your barriers, using your wells, I mean, to move up the payload. So here again is me just sitting on the sniper spawns so that the snipers can't overwhelm us. Now I'm going to go get back into my position, my defensive position up on the wall. And it's again super important to control the snipers first, because the snipers can two-shot you and they will stack up on you, so just do your best to be mindful anytime you see a sniper spawn to take them out. Now here again, I wish he would have put his barrier down there, his well, I mean down there where the unyielding servitor is at, so that we can actually take the servitor out and move up the payload. But it worked out in our favor because I was able to sit and take out the snipers a little bit faster using the well. As you can see, we already have another set up there. Another benefit of the Wish Ender 2 is just the super generation. There's another moment of me having to clutch up, and I had plenty of moments during this run. I had to fall back here because I knew that they were going to kill me if I didn't, and it got a little dicey too because I had to dodge the grenades that they throw as well. So you want to try to take out the dregs so that they can't throw grenades on you like that. You can actually shoot the grenades too before they pop. This is me here doing that. Now I'm going to get a turret out so that I can suppress the enemies that are in front of me so I can get up there and get that res. And what's crazy is that there were so many moments in this run like this where it's just, you know, last guardian standing, and I'm here, you know, with like a final bar of health, just trying to hold back and make sure that I'm able to progress us because my teammates were kind of watching on the ground. And I mean, no shade to them, you know, it's a tough GM, so if you're not ready for just the level of difficulty that climbs like instantly as soon as everything spawns, like it goes from chill to like 100 like real fast. And it's kind of unfair because the stuff just ends up kind of sneaking on you. Like you see how this Vandal is shooting me from a head glitch? Like that's ridiculous. We're the only ones that are supposed to be able to head glitch, not the enemies. So what I'm doing here is I'm popping my super and I'm just going to freeze everything so that way I can get in there and get this res and hopefully help turn the tide. I'm actually trying not to shatter them on purpose so that way I can keep them in place so I can get back into safety. And so now that we've got the servitor down, this captain is free game, and our teammate kind of wasted his well there, unfortunately. what I'm doing now is I'm taking the other sniper position, so that way just in case they spawn I can be there on top of them. And I'm getting position on the enemies below so that I can provide cover fire for my teammates, so I'm like praying are just going to touch the payload. Which they don't, unfortunately. That would move the payload out of this continual spawn. And again, this is what happens if you don't push the payload, is you get these continued spawns and you have to take them out quickly. So what I'm doing is I'm just trying to lock everything down so my teammates get a chance to move up and push the payload forward. I can't remember if I have to actually jump down and do it myself, though. Oh, no, there they go, there they go. That was a good payload push. We got a little bit of progress there. And I'm just trying to take these things out before they hit the ground. I'm going to get a turret out there as well once my other one expires so that I can hold them down. Again, you can shatter with this build, you can shatter your ice crystals, and that'll send out shards that do damage to them as well. So I shatter the ice crystals there with the servitor to try to slow it and get a little bit of damage on it at the same time. Almost like a weak ignition. Here I'm just picking up all the orbs because I'm going to need my super here in a little bit when the brig comes around. Another thing to keep in mind is that brig ends up doing damage when it lands, so try not to be right underneath it. Now if you see where my turret is at, it's in a good spot where it's going to attack the brig, but it's also going to attack things that are coming down that hill. And then in a little bit I'm going to put it a little further back because we are getting a lot of stuff spawning in that back end, and I'm going to make sure that that's all locked down before it gets down the hill. It doesn't get a chance to set up shop like that sniper that I'm trying to kill right here. So now I've got the turret in behind them, so that anytime they land, it's going to lock them down up there. By the time they get down the hill, they're stuck. And that was nice having the Celestial Nighthawk golden gun there. Now from here you're just going to get spawns around the corner, so I'm going to get up top and I'm going to try to get a vantage spot against these guys. I want to get a turret down, but I only want to put a turret down when it can catch a lot of stuff, so that's why I'm waiting to see where these things are spawning. In the normal version of this, they spawn a lot out of that door there, but in the GM, there are actually not going to be many spawns. When you come around this corner, it's going to start spawning hive from this point. Now where I'm standing here, it's important that you pay attention to the timing of the spawns, because there's going to be a wizard where I'm sitting. There's going to be another wizard further over to my right on the top. There's going to be like a little platform to my right, you'll see. And then there's going to be 2 Boomer Knights up there. And those Boomer Knights can easily kill you, especially since I'm running Sniper Resistance instead of Concussive Dampener, which I wanted to run Concussive Dampener. But the Sniper Resistance was just too good, so that's what I ended up running. Now right now I'm using my Priestniks because I'm trying to get headshots to cause ignition so that I can take out groups of Thrall as they spawn. And so here's where we're getting the spawn behind us. So my teammates don't know about that, and so they're going to get wrecked here in a little bit because they don't realize that there's a wizard spawning right on top of them. And you can hear them spawning on the right. And there's our first death from that group. And we're back again to Last Guardian standing. Clutch number 2 coming up. Now what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be trying to take out these wizards with my Priestniks because I'm trying to get ignition damage to also do a little bit of damage at the same time to these boomers that are around it. Also, I'm getting radiant from this too. So now I'm doing a little bit more damage with my bow. So I'm getting the radiant additional damage, and I'm getting the additional kinetic damage from being overcharged because I have a matching subclass from the burn. What's crazy though is that I found this out here, is that if you take a little while to clear out all of these ads, that they're just going to respawn like that. So that's part of keeping the payload back. So you actually need to push the payload a little bit in order to get these guys to stop spawning. What I'm going to end up doing, I think, is I'm going to end up popping my super, and I'm going to end up clearing out, I think, the wizards, popping my super and freezing the boomers, and then getting the reses. Okay, so I'm putting up a turret actually, and I'm going to use the turret to get the freeze. So I'm actually saving my super. I'm going to get a turret down there to freeze that boomer. And so now I've got everything frozen, and now I can kind of get out of here and get out of here with my overshield since I've got my overshield from the res. And now I can help clear. And now we should be able to outpace the spawns. And so now what I'm doing is I'm helping control the wizards up there, and I'm also going to start helping control on the bottom the ads spawning there and try to work on the eyes, the Shriekers. So what I'm doing here with my supers, I'm just pushing these Revenant Knights back and trying to get these Shriekers to spawn. And then I'm also controlling the stuff on top because the wizard has a good chance of killing my teammate there. So I'm going to try to get this wizard killed so that way it can't pick at a teammate. And later on I'm going to put a turret down just to take out the spawn from that as well. So me moving up like I did, I was able to actually bring out the unstops. And so now it's time to work on the unstops. I have an unstoppable bow equipped, so that way I can get those unstops controlled. But here's where I'm dropping the turret. That turret's actually going to help put that wizard in its place. And anytime the Shrieker opens up, I'm going to take the opportunity to take it down with any heavy that I have. I'm going to put another turret down there to control those guys behind us. I'm going to take this opportunity to grab heavy. I should have shot it with my bow, but I always forget I have shoot to loot sometimes. So now we were able to force the spawns, so I'm falling back because we're actually going to get all the spawns here. I believe it's 2 Barrier Knights plus the Lucent Hive. Now we're trying to focus the same knight. The Lucent Hive is also not going to be too much of a threat because we have a well down. I'm going to put another turret there to control the wizard up top. That'll give us a chance to pretty much get to the Hive, Lucent Hive in a second, unmolested, because they're going to be all dealing with my turret. So now we're picking at the Lucent Hive, and Excalibur's running in there a little bit early, but the timing works out because he gets finishable by the time he gets there, and I'm just trying my best to make sure that he is finishable. Or she, since it's a wizard. And then once you get the finish in, now you just got to do the rest of the payload, and you're set. And so now I'm going into the next section with pretty much full heavy, and all of my abilities are up. I'm ready to go.
disarmed is more shameful than being killed in battle. I imagine
Now
it's the
coming around
same
here,
with
I'm
the
going to put a
guardians of
turret
their
down on
light.
the inside and fall back.
This
If
looks
you're
like some kind
on a
of
team with
sword,
somebody using this strategy,
but
do
instead of
your
weapons,
absolute best to not block the
they're
door.
collecting
There's a couple
guardian
times where I had like
light.
mini heart attacks because my teammate was just standing in the door and I couldn't jump over him, and he was just in the right spot and couldn't take a move for an answer. You know what I mean? Like I'm literally punching and running into my teammate, trying not to get shot and killed, and he's just there blocking the door because he wants to shoot something. It's like, bro, like just get out the way. Like there's plenty of time to get out there and shoot stuff. The GM's not going anywhere. So here I'm going to take advantage of the well and try to clear out as much as I can using the additional radiant and the restoration, of course. I have no clue what ended up killing him there. If he ended up killing himself with his grenade, I think. I think he's running gunpowder gamble and ended up killing himself with his gunpowder gamble. But it's okay, because if he just stood there long enough, he would die from all the crap coming in. Like these wizards just fire non-stop, and when combined with the boomers, they will so insta-kill you. So you have to be very careful. You also have to watch these grenades. As you can see, what I'm doing is I'm doing my best to watch my health and to step into any healing rifts that I can to start regeneration again. I'm also trying to make sure that I can get out there and clear enemies so that we can get up and pick up the icons that you see that's on the ground. You have to pick that triangle up. That's one of 3 that you have to pick up to progress the mission. And so there, that's another life loss that wasn't necessary. That person should have fallen back. But you get a little too overzealous and you forget that stuff can spawn behind you. And that's what happens. And now here's a situation where he's in a bad spot. We need to absolutely just leave him on the ground. And yes, there's a well there, but if he's just outside the well, he can die. So the goal is to try to clear up anything that you can, or freeze everything that you can, and then you can get the res. And so my job here is to stay as far back as I can to not waste any more revives, and to pick at the shields and pick at any enemies that I can see with the Wishender. Again, the Wishender's great for this section because you can see through the walls, so you know preemptively where the enemies are going to be. I've popped my super though, so that I can actually get out there and get the pickup of the captured light. And I'm falling back before my protection drops off from the super. And I keep trying to get my turret kind of in a central spot, because I want it to be able to attack both the unstop and also the other enemies. And so that's kind of why I keep throwing my turret more in the middle. And since we have a well down, I feel a little bit safer standing out in the open. I wouldn't be standing here just yet if the well wasn't down. What I should have done, if you have the same type of setup where you've got a shoot-to-loot weapon, I should have shot the heavy over there and picked that heavy up. But as soon as I heard the spawns, I don't know if you can see the speed at which I'm getting out of there, like I immediately know that I'm going to be set up on both sides, so I just get the hell out and I let my turret do the work. Another thing I love about Wishender is that you can shoot through your teammates with a full draw. So normally your teammate can block your shots with other weapons, but with the Wishender you just shoot right through their body, and you hit whatever target true that you need to hit. So that's another strong thing about Wishender, is that it's LFG proof from people blocking your shots. That's another getting a little too aggressive and losing a res. Once you start to see your health get past about 75% in that situation with all that fire, you just need to get out of there. And here's that situation I was telling you about where you just do not res somebody in a situation where the wizard's on like auto fire, because the wizard will melt anybody before their feet hit the ground. Here it's getting a little close. And here we are again, where we're having to clutch up a little bit. I'm not going to challenge, though, in this case, because it would be dumb of me to leave them both dead, and then, let's say I get caught just like they get caught, and all of a sudden we have to start over because of that. So I'm just going to put my turret down, let some stuff get frozen, hopefully stop the fire, and then get in and try to block any of the fire that I can, try to body block a little bit, or try to stun. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm trying to get a stun on the wizard. And once I get my super, as long as they stop firing, I can actually get in there with my super and freeze them up and get the res. But right now, I'm just doing my best to get rid of any boomer that I can. That was unfortunate that I got that block there. But I'm going to get in there and I'm going to just freeze everything. I'm not even going to detonate, because I'm just trying to get this res so that way we can have some more firepower. And now I can detonate and get the hell out of there. And here's where, like, I'm like, please God, let me just get over you. Why are you blocking me? And I just saved your life. I would have been so furious if I died there. Here's another moment where it's like time to get out. Thankfully they let me out. Here we've got a good angle on the unstop. Unfortunately the unstop has a good angle on us, so very, very careful. As you can see, I got out of there just in time. A lot of supers going off there. Even in the well, if you're not careful, you can die, so just watch your health. And so I know we have an unstop there, but I'm just trying to lessen the fire a little bit, so I'm trying to take out any of the acolytes that are throwing grenades, take out any of the knights, stun the wizard. And here's where it gets a little dangerous, because this unstop is pushing up, and alongside of the boomer knights, this unstop can absolutely melt if he wants to. So this is where I decide that I'm just going to fall back. And you can see here the unstop's going to start firing through as well, so even that res is not completely safe. But I'm going to try to give it a shot. Hopefully he gets out before the unstop fires the beam. Then I'm going to draw some of the fire across if I can, and then try to freeze whatever I can. Again, the turrets are so strong for enemy control, because they can be where you're not, and they're invulnerable pretty much. And you notice I'm not rezzing because I don't want to waste this res. This res is still in a bad spot. And I popped there to protect the res, so that way I can get out there and freeze, so that the person trying to get away doesn't get melted immediately. And as soon as I see those barriers, I'm like, okay, I'm out. And I'm just trying to freeze everything so I can get out. I think that golden gun took out the wizard, which was a nice shot. Now the barrier knight's hiding, so I'm just working on the knight on the left. And now that barrier knight has isolated, so I'm going to put a turret to like either force it out of position or to freeze it up so that it can't protect itself. I was also testing to see if I could deposit any of that light, but it's changed now. You don't actually have to deposit them, you just have to pick them up. And so there's the final captured light. We just picked it up. And so here's the section where I was talking about that you can have some senseless deaths. Right now we've got 6 revives, and we need every single one of them. And it's bad form to try to die here, or to get yourself in a position to die here, because all we're doing is just trying to get his health down to a point where the scions show up and imprison him so we can get into the mindscape. There's no reason for you to be pushing up that far, and all we got to do is get him about a quarter of this health bar down, so it's not like we're having to put a ton of damage on him or get a position or anything. And he also can go into his super in one shot, so you just don't want to be up and pressing up past a certain point. You just want to be back. So what I'm doing is I'm just getting a turret out there. See if I can get the turret to encourage him to move. And if he doesn't move, at least he'll have some additional little tick damage on him. And I'm waiting for stuff like the wizard to stick out and just kind of take them out. And see how he pushes up here? At this point you have to fall back, because he's got a full position on. This person in the super is going to put a good hit on him. But the other person that was that close should have immediately just turning and running. He's got his shield up. You're not going to do anything to him. He's got his boomer out. He can shoot through his shield. Just get out of there. And so now he's to the point where the scions should show up, but they sometimes lag a little bit. So I'm just getting that additional damage on him. And now they show up when I throw my turret. I'm like, thanks. So now we have 5 revives going into the mindscape. Should have had a lot more, but it is what it is. Again, with LFGs, they're just trying to do their job and get their damage in. You can't be too salty about it. You just got to work with what you have. And especially in my case, I was prepared to solo this if I needed. You know, I normally get through these, like I said, without dying a whole lot, but when they're really tough like that, you know, sometimes you get your position where you're trying to help your teammates or save your teammates, or you get out of position because of that, where you wouldn't necessarily if you were solo. So that's one of the downsides of not being solo, is sometimes you get a little bit out of position because of your teammates. And in this case, I did a pretty good job not dying up until this point, but it's frustrating whenever you have, like, I don't know, 20 revives throughout the whole thing, and you end up needing the 1 revive sometimes, and it's maybe not there. So a little bit of foreshadowing there, but you'll see what I mean. It's a little bit frustrating when you know that you're doing your best and you're doing your job not to die, and you end up kind of stressing out about only having 1 or 2 reses left, and you maybe needing one of those. So here, the goal is to picket him from a distance from our standpoint, and to not allow him to throw shields up. You see where I'm hiding here? If you hide where I'm hiding, he won't target you with his shield. Although, since my teammates were pushed further up, they accidentally may get hit with the shield, and the shield can bounce off of them and kill me too. So that was part of my worry, was I was worried that my teammates were going to encourage him to get a shield up here in his super and end up getting a collat kill on us. Thankfully, it hasn't happened yet, but again, foreshadowing, right? And so the wizards are your major threat, and him are your major threat. There's only 2 to worry about. The wizards can get close enough to do continual damage to you from the platform, and of course he can throw his shield up. So anytime he pops his super, you have to duck and fall back and look for wizards, so that way they can't get close enough to do any damage to your teammates. So what I'm doing now is providing cover fire for my teammates from the wizards. And getting radiant too, which is nice, getting that additional damage in. And then I'm switching over and shooting him through his barrier to do damage. So I'm tickling his arm and his feet there, if you can see, because he's got his arm and his feet sticking out. So sometimes you just have to hit what you can, because he likes to hide his head. But whenever I can, I am getting super damage on, or I'm getting crit damage on him. So here I'm kind of falling back and praying that my teammates don't get targeted by his shield, and just waiting for his super to fall off. And now I can go back to tickling his feet and his hands. I'm trying to get a turret behind that bar there. Unfortunately, like, my throw was just a little off a couple times. I would prefer it to be a little higher and bounce off that back wall, so that way the turret can be behind him and could force him out towards us. Of course, not with his super. Once he pops his super, I'm immediately hiding. I'm just gonna let my turret do its thing. As you can see, his shield just barely grazed us. We got lucky there. Here comes another one. So here is the difficult section whenever you have Savathun out, just because of the sheer damage she can put out. And Savathun can actually attack you from the platform using her arc attack. So just be on your feet. She will send the arc balls at you if she gets close. And do your best to prioritize the Unstoppable, so the Unstoppable can't make it to where it can do its attack to you as well, because its attack can reach you from long distance too. Here comes Savathun's attack, which can kill you if it hits all of its shots. And so these Acolytes, what they're going to end up doing is they're going to hide to the left and right of the relic. So what I'm doing is I'm just getting a turret down so that it can attack these guys, freeze them up, so that way I can get the relic and get out of there safely. Now on the relic, you have to be real careful with the relic, because if you jump like I'm jumping here in a little bit, you'll see the relic kind of pushes you a little bit to the right, so I had to waste some time to kind of get back onto the platform. And the reason I'm jumping is just so that I can throw off her aim, and so I can hop over any of the arc attack that she's doing here. So right back again, I'm getting a turret out. I'm protecting myself from any Acolyte fire. And so you want to use your platforms, they're there to block any fire and get out there. And if you need to, you can use your grenade button to do a little short-range teleport. Just make sure you don't teleport yourself off the edge accidentally. Now, unfortunately, she's in a bad spot. She's moved up a little bit there, and she's able to duck behind cover, so that makes it a little tough on us as well. We also got the wizard that's like auto-firing onto the relic area, so I have to wait for that to stop too. So in the meantime, I'm just going to take out some Acolytes and hope Excalibur there doesn't encourage Savathun to throw a Nova Bomb. So as you can see, I'm using the short range teleport to get back onto the platform because I've jumped off of it, just for safety purposes, to make sure I get my health back and recover. And here I'm popping my crystals to try to send out those slowing shards. Now I know that from the last time that they almost killed me when I popped out here, so I'm doing my best to try to take out all the threats that are in that area. And I'm going to grab this, get his res, and get back onto the platform. Now mind you, we've just lost one of our reses. We're down to 5. So we actually had one more, I think, because we killed that Unstoppable. So we should have had 7. Now we've got 5, and now if I res him again, we have 4. So I don't think I'm going to res him again because he's staying down there, and that's just a bad idea. You just want to get back onto the outside platform. You don't want to stay down there and continue to die from all the stuff down there. There's just too many ads, and they do too much damage. It's a void threat too, so any Acolytes are more dangerous. One benefit too, you'll notice, of leaving somebody down is sometimes the Savathun projection will focus on that downed enemy with their attacks. So instead of sending her attacks at us up here on the platform, she'll send her attacks and aim them at the downed enemy. Or the downed guardian. Ooh, she almost got me there. Like I said, this is one of the more difficult ones. Any little moment where they catch you falling asleep, they'll kill you. Alright, so Ram went down there to try to get the res. and I'm going to try my best to try to protect them. But again, they're in a bad spot. They should not stay down there. Even in your well, you will die. So if you do have to pop a well down there to get a res, just get in there and get out. Do not stand still. You will get shielded to death. The only reason that I feel comfortable attacking him in his super right now is because Ram is down there and taking his attention, so I'm going to try to get a turret down there to try to disrupt a little bit and also force him out of position. And Ram is finally getting back up here, which is great. Now we're all three up here. This is ideally how it should be. I know it's a little crowded on the platform, but ideally it should absolutely stay like this, where everybody's up on the platform and just picking at the guy and taking your time and saving reses. Because again, during the Savathun phase is when you're going to need them. Right now, any deaths in this phase are just, again, wasted reses because you should just not be dying. You should just wait for him to stick out, do what you can, throw your nades, use your abilities to force him out of position. Here in a little bit I'll have a grenade that I can put down to try to force him out of position, but Excalibur's going to do that for us by hopping down. Unfortunately, again, that's just a little dangerous. Like maybe if you were an invis hunter, that would be a nice thing to do, is hop down there, force him out, and then go invis. But as you can see, it did not go well. There's just too much down there with too much damage in a short period of time for you to get away. Here's the wizards that you prioritize. Now you notice he's sticking out to the right. I'm going to move left and I'm going to try to force his shields left. Unfortunately my teammate didn't do that, so now my teammate's down. And remember what I said earlier when I was talking about in the beginning in the build guide, that I'm going to give you a couple shots. Like if you die once, fine, but if you die a second time the same exact way, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to res you until we're out of that danger. So right now I'm holding off on the res because he's died to the shield, and I want to make sure that he's not going to be able to die to the shield again. And so I'm like, alright, let me give you your shot. Here come the shields, what are you going to do? And you die again. So, very frustrating. There's me voicing my frustration. I'm like, really? And so now I'm just going to leave him dead. Because I don't want to waste these reses, we are going to need them. So I'm just going to wait until he is completely out of the picture, until I've forced him into the next section. And then from there we'll deal with it. So you see how he's in a spot where he could hit me with the shield? I'm just vacating the area completely. And I'm going to jump right back up and get right back out of the area so that I can't get killed by the wizards. I'm going to do the same exact thing over and over again until it's clear. That's harder to do when you have somebody else alive on the platform with you, because he's still going to be able to target the person on the platform. But that's how you play it. You either fall back if you're comfortable and drop down one level on this platform. There's another little small section there, but you can slip off of it, so I don't like to do it. Or you jump completely down into the platform, and then you jump right back immediately before the enemies have a chance to lock onto you. And so here he is again. I'm going to jump down and out of the way, dodging his shields, and I'm going to put a turret down to deal with the enemies down here. I'm going to go right back. I'm going to try to draw him out again. And killing the enemies can sometimes draw him out, so try to kill the enemies around him. That'll force him to try to jump out and attack you. And here I'm going to try to get a turret in a good spot where he can hit him, and I get lucky, and I get that turret right above him. So it's just going to be a perfect spot to force out anything around him. And now we can res, because he's no longer a threat. Now here is the toughest part, though. Because we have these two Savathuns now, and they're in a really, really tight spot, I need to clear out this entire area, and I need to clear out the enemies to get this res, so this is what I'm doing here. You'll notice I even froze with timing. I froze the unstop, so that way the unstop couldn't kill him as well. So that's how you get a safe res in a crowded area. Another thing you have to concern yourself with is if the Savathun on the left or the right move up close enough to do that damage to you. So I've got some heals down, and I'm trying to get this unstop down, and I'm begging the Warlock to pop a well if he's got it. Now I'm trying to get out, trying to get into safety, so I'm just moving up here. I'm going to end up in an area where I have to kind of fight my way through. And I'm trying to get these ignition kills here. That's why I'm using my pre-Astenix over my Wish Ender. It's also going to fire a little bit faster, so it's better for close range. Now here Excalibur jumped down, which was detrimental because now Savathun is going to be able to focus on him, and now we're not like able to switch sides, and so I'm like getting beset upon by both of these because they moved down. So now I'm like, okay, well now I got to get out of here. Now that they're focusing on them, I'll have a chance to grab the spear and get some damage in. And so mind you, we only have 2 revives right now. We have somebody dead, so I'm over here like begging, like, please do not pick up the other person just in case I need the revive. I didn't say it though because obviously I can't stop and type because if I did I'd be dead. And just unfortunate there, she was shooting at Ram. I was gonna jump back to the platform to get safe. And so now we only have 1 res, and I'm like, oh my god, please res me over Excalibur if Excalibur dies again, or vice versa. And I'm just like praying and watching. I'm like feeling the run slipping away from me right now. But luckily Excalibur came and rezzed me over Ram, which was surprising. That was the right call, of course, though, because again, I'm normally prepared to do this solo. So I got lucky. I ran by that moth, and that moth didn't catch me. But here's where it's crunch time now, where not only are we out of reses, but even if we had reses, we're going to hit the timer here in a second. And so now it's just on me, because I don't know how he died there. I didn't even see anything attacking him, but something killed him. And so now it's like, okay, I can't get the reses. I gotta clear the middle. I have to get to a situation where I can get a safe relic. And so this is what I'm doing here. I'm getting this Synaptic Spear. I'm taking advantage of the teleport to move out of the way, and I'm getting back onto the platform. And I'm going to have to do this again and again, all while dodging 2 Savathuns. Thankfully, again, like we talked about, the guys down there are not completely useless because their orbs are going to absorb some of the Savathun attacks. And I'm going to have my turret be my other teammate for me. I'm going to go back and I'm going to get that same exact Synaptic Spear because that Savathun's kind of line of sighting itself. And so if you'll notice, the reason why I'm going to this left one again is because I have some safety from that Savathun, just a little bit, compared to the one on the right, which has enemies underneath it. And it's got a line of sight to the Synaptic Spear, so it can easily hit me with a Nova Bomb or any kind of close range attack, like it even does a close range Nova Pulse. So same routine, hitting the teleport, making sure I'm getting out of there and dodging the Nova Bomb. And side to side and getting in the air to dodge the lightning attack. And here it gets a little scary because the Synaptic Spear pushed me off. So I'm not even going to try to get that last attack off, I'm just going to play it safe. This is to deal with any of the enemies there, and I'm just keeping my motion, keeping my movement. I'm going to try to get pushed off of that so I get safe every time. Alright, so we're going to have 1 down. So now it gets a little bit easier. Still crunch time, right? Still got to be tight with my attacks, but now I'm not as much in trouble because that Savathun is much farther back. And the only thing that's going to kill me right now is these Acolytes, so I'm going to clear them up. And now that they're clear, I'm going to take the opportunity to get a Synaptic Spear. And I'm going to get back to my safe spot. Now I am leaving that 1 Acolyte alive because I'm trying to keep more Acolytes from spawning. So I'm going to leave that 1 Acolyte there on the left alive and hope that it's going to stop the spawn, which I think it does. Man, these Savathun's have way too much health though. so here it's just like a rinse and repeat. For a second I thought I got lucky and the Savathun ended up killing itself, and I was going to be like, yes. But nope, just teleport it close to me to where it can attack me now. But again, it's attacking the projections, so that's kind of lucky for me. I just have to make sure that I don't jump accidentally, and as I'm falling down, land in like a giant row of arc attack accidentally, because that's where I usually land. So that's one thing I have to look out for. And here again, I'm looking out a little bit that she's only attacking the orbs. You see what I mean about maybe accidentally landing in her attacks? I was just floating a little bit longer and make sure that that didn't happen to me. And trying not to get hit by the cross attack. And like, as far as I'm concerned, once I get this point where I've got this final Savathun, and I get this final Savathun down, that's GG, because I am absolutely not going to allow that final boss to kill me with its shield, and that's the only way that I can really die that, or the wizards, and I'm not going to let the wizards attack me either, because I know to prioritize them. So at this point, you know, these guys are just watching me pretty much do what I would do on a solo run. I was almost shooting her with my bow. Alright, so for me again, as far as I'm concerned, this is GG. Because I am not going to allow myself to fall off the map. I'm not going to allow myself to get in a position where I can get damaged by this guy. I've got my bow where I can shoot through the shield. If he pops his shield, I'm going to use this center area to block his shield. And this is me kind of falling far back to the edge of the platform, so that even if he does get a shield up here, it's going to be a little too high, and it's not going to be able to catch me. If it doesn't bounce off that thing in the first place, I'm going to try to put that little area sticking out, that little column sticking out between me and him, so any shield throw coming at me is going to go straight up. So another pro tip here is, you see how there's acolytes standing next to him? If he ever gets to a point where I can't hit him and the acolyte dips in and it's kind of frozen there just waiting for me, I can actually use the Priastinix, and I should have used it here, for example, to kill that wizard, because then that ignition would go off, getting the precision kill, and that precision kill would then do an ignition to him and do ignition damage to him. So you can still do damage to him even if you don't have a grenade or anything like that, as long as you have a solar weapon that can get precision kills from here with. And that solar weapon can cause ignitions, and those ignitions will also do that follow-up ignition damage as well. He'll get ignited too. So that's what I'm trying to do here with this acolyte. Now see how he's in his super, and even though he's not looking at me, like, I still instinctively am going to duck back, because I don't want him to like pop out and then all of a sudden he pops out and gets a shield throw off, and then I'm dead, because you saw how close it got to my left side there. So now I've got a turret in a good spot. Like, now I've got the turret far enough back where it's actually doing damage to him, which is going to encourage him to step out. And so that's kind of what I'm working on here. And I'm trying to get these ignition kind of collaterals. Another thing too, the reason why I'm killing these acolytes is because killing the enemies also encourages him to step out. And even if he just steps out to where I can only hit his arm like I'm doing right here, that's still damage to him, so I'm going to work on him that way. See how the wizard tried to shoot me from that distance? It can't, but if it gets a little closer, it definitely will, so I'm not going to let it. Here, I'm going to try to get a turret back there again. And it looks like I did. That's going to pull him out. And again, I have the Wish Inner so I can shoot him through his barrier, which is fantastic. And I'm going to try to block him now from hitting me with his shield throw, which is working great. So you can see the shields are going up instead of forward. Here I'm going to try to kill that wizard with an ignition kill to ignite him. As you can see there, I got that collat damage with the ignite. And from here, it's just a rinse and repeat. As you can see here, the wizard is trying to take me out, but I'm not going to let that go down. Now I'm going to try to get a turret far enough back that he can't hide, and I still get a little bit of tick damage on him from the turret. And I'm going to try to get that wizard now that it's in good position to try to get an ignition kill. Now he made a mistake and he stepped out, so from here I can pick at him perfectly now. And even though I'm close to victory, I'm not going to get greedy. I'm going to make sure that I stand back and let these shields go out in the middle of nowhere, because I'm not going to get killed like that. Plus my turret's doing a little bit of work. A little bit of a shatter kill there, it looks like. Same thing, I'm going to get this turret back there to try to get him to come out, which he does. And again, he's got his shield up, and I'm just picking away through the shield. Gonna hide still, let him get his shield throws off. Again, it's not gonna get greedy. I'm gonna let him get one more off and then peek at him. And it's GG. Don't forget, you gotta get down there and get that kill. I gave him a little teabag and I almost risked it, but I'm like, nope, I'm gonna get in there and get that kill. And as you can see, the shards came in handy. Those shards gave me a little bit of an overshield. Here I am, joking with these guys.
It never stops, does it? The Hive are relentless. Even with the light, all they hunger for is death.
Letting them know that the video will be up.
Why it didn't change them.
Dropping the YouTube channel. Also, don't forget about commendations when you're on these, since you got to get that for the Guardian ranks. So that's what I'm still getting the commendations out there for, trying to get them out early. That's pretty much it. From there, just going to go back to orbit. Thanks very much for watching to the end. I appreciate all my new subscribers. Hopefully this video and this guide helps you guys get this done. It's a tough week. I'll see you guys in the next one.